For more on this, let's bring in General Keith Kellogg, former National Security Advisor to Vice President Mike Pence and a Fox News contributor. General Kellogg, you've been talking us through this with your estimates of when this could happen, predicting that it will. And you're now writing that this is a big distraction, or at least it could be, from our biggest threat, China. In your FoxNews.com op-ed today, you say Russia, Ukraine, and NATO's future, America's next crisis. Again, the United States, you write, moves into a European issue, which Europeans should be solving. All of this, you say, is a distraction, as we should be focusing on the emergent and most significant threat, China. Instead, we're on a collision course with Russia. So is that what is happening? Are we now being distracted by this while China grows stronger?
Yeah, Sandra, thanks for having me today. Look, today, it comes down to today a study in contrast. When you look at what's happening in the White House with Joe Biden meeting with Chancellor Scholz of Germany, and then at the same time, almost near simultaneously, you've got Macron, the president of France, meeting with Vladimir Putin in Moscow. And we in the United States are looking at punishments like what are we going to do with Nord Stream 2, what kind of sanctions. And Macron, leading the European contingent, is basically looking at a solution. And I think right now, this is the best chance for an off-ramp. If Macron does not solve the problem diplomatically, I think we're going to be in for a long few weeks ahead of us out there, because he brings something that nobody else can bring. One, he brings a little bit more trust with Putin than Biden does, because frankly, Biden and Putin do not get along. And he also brings us a potential solution. Look, Putin's biggest problem is security, and he keeps talking about Ukraine coming into NATO. And Macron can tell him that's not going to happen in the near term, because every single member of NATO has to vote, all 30 of them, for somebody to be admitted. And he can tell Putin that's not going to happen on my watch. He's always wanted, he meaning Macron, has always wanted this to be a European issue to solve. That would help us, because if the Europeans can solve this issue, it allows us to move and pivot to what I think is the emergent threat for the United States of America, and that's China. We keep getting distracted by Russia. You know, I've made it, and it's a tongue-in-cheek comment, but I always look at Russia like Belgium with nukes. They're very dangerous, they're ominous, but the biggest threat is much further to our east in China.
Wow, and to go back to your earlier statement about Macron looking for solutions here, an off-ramp, if you will, while we're still talking about consequences if Putin does decide to act. Here was Jake Sullivan over the weekend talking to Martha. Listen.
We have been absolutely clear that if Russia invades Ukraine, one way or the other, Nord Stream 2 will not move forward. That's leverage for us that we have right now.
So he's still talking about Nord Stream 2 being leverage for us right now, while we're still not doing anything about the energy situation that now puts Russia number 3 on our list of countries that we are purchasing oil from.
Yeah, look, it's going to be an interesting meeting today with Scholz of Germany out there, because I think they're a real laggard when it comes to NATO and in support of Nord Stream 2. This is the same country that when we were trying to provide military aid to Ukraine, as was Britain, they were providing 5,000 used military helmets, and they've kind of pushed back on the use of sanctions. We need to really lean in on Germany. Germany should be a leading supporter of what we want to do with Russia. You know, I remember back in the middle of the Cold War, you're looking at a nation, Germany, that had 500,000 troops under arms. Today it's 65,000. They're not even contributing what they should be contributing to NATO, which is 2% of their GDP. They're about 1.3%, and they could double that. And I've always said, and again, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, if you really want to get the Germans' attention, rearm Germany, because they always seem to march east. And the Germans should support us, and they're really not. They're not supporting NATO. Macron sees that. The real leader you're starting to see emerge in Europe is Macron of France. He's taking that lead from Boris Johnson. He's taking it from Scholz, because Merkel, who used to be the leader, is now gone. So let's look at France, and let's hope they're going to get this one right.
Very interesting. It really sets up for a big afternoon as we continue to watch for any developments out of the White House, out of Washington. Sir, very much appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandra.
All right, John.